YouTube, what's up? I figured what better way to talk about the recent Battlefield news than to watch the Battlefield 4 trailer, okay? So if you guys are unaware, yesterday on September 16th, we got some new information about the upcoming Battlefield through an article by IGN. And the article talks about a few things, but really in this video, I'll briefly summarize the article if you're unaware. And then also, this isn't going to be a hyper critique or things to watch out for type of video. If you guys want me to give my real opinion on EA and Battlefield, I'd happily do so in a separate video, but this is just going to be more fun and lighthearted, okay? So basically, the article talks about this new Battlefield coming out, presumably 2025, 2026, is going to be back to modern era Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 style gameplay. We obviously recently had 2042 with near future, and then previously Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 1 being World War II and World War I era. So it's nice that the game's returning to modern present day. And another big news, no more 128 versus 128. It's going back to 64 or 32 count player teams and no specialists, which is awesome. And the article also continues to mention how they want to plan to compete with Call of Duty, which is a big telltale sign for them to mention that out of all things they could mention for Battlefield. Mentioning Call of Duty and competition is very interesting to me, and it also kind of alludes and foreshadows some other things that I think they will plan on doing. We'll get into that briefly. And lastly, the other piece of evidence we got was concept art. Okay, we got some new concept art, so let's take a look at all of this. All right, guys, let's break down this concept art. So as you can see, we have what looks like some combat happening, air and sea vehicles. Definitely reminds me of Battlefield 3 and 4. Now, as far as setting goes, let's take a look. So this foreground here has three different regions or areas to it. We have the lower third, the middle, and the upper third, okay? So this upper third looks like it's either a mountain or a cliffside, maybe a volcanic region that's on fire. This middle area, we have a cliffside town that is the strongest piece of evidence of setting for me in this entire image, is this area right here. This looks very Mediterranean, and to me, I think is a strong piece of evidence as to where the setting is. And then this lower half image to me is hard to tell with this gradient and smoke going on. You can see some bigger buildings here. To me, this looks like the slums of a country, right? Like this looks like the slum neighborhood, tarp roofs and tin roofs, kind of like a favela almost, but I believe this is either slums or a war-torn older city. It's hard to tell, but that's what I'm getting from this area. Now, the back here looks like either a harbor region or potentially a base military island. There's a lot of lights happening going on, and one thing I will mention are these towers back here look way more modern and almost like a launch center for something. It could just be city and skyscrapers, but this looks a bit more modern day to me, this whole area. And then as you can see, we have these big, beautiful mountains in the back, this ridgeline, open country, and just an awesome potential for combat scenarios there. It reminds me of some of the Battlefield 1 maps, just the beauty of the natural environments and scenes in that game was awesome. And the last area we can really take a look at is behind field back here, okay? Now, this is really hard to make out what it is. To me, it just looks like a city. Now, I will say the only thing I can come up with for this area is that all of the buildings look very uniform in height. There's not a lot of variance. And to me, that indicates an older city. When you look at more modern cities in today's world, there's a lot of variance between building heights and styles, but in this area it all looks pretty uniform, so to me that makes me think it's an older city. Now the question is for you guys, do you think this is one map and one region, or do you think this is separate areas? Because this very well could be a collage style concept art, meaning this area back here is a separate map, but they did a good job blending it to look like it's part of this. as well as these 3 different front areas in the foreground. This could be totally separate from this area. Maybe this area really has an ocean down here, and this bottom region is just blended in to appear like it's connected. I'm not sure, and no one will really know. At the end of the day, this is concept art. I am very familiar with concept art. I'm a professional designer, so I understand the purpose of concept art to communicate ideas, brainstorm, get things down on paper. But I have a strong feeling that this concept art is a finalized style and representative of the setting for the game. I don't believe this is early concept art. I believe this is late stage concept art, okay? So let's dive into some other things. Alright guys, so here's my first question I asked AI regarding this image. I went ahead and pasted the image and asked basically where it thinks this setting is. It analyzes a few details and talks about that. You guys can go ahead and pause the video and read everything it has to say if you want, but it basically suggests Mediterranean cities, East Asian coastlines, or the San Francisco Bay Area. Very interesting. So it gave me some more information regarding architecture. I asked it one more question, as you guys can see on screen, and I just asked it another question. Can you give me a location on Google Earth that fits your analysis? It suggests Naples, Italy, and gave me coordinates. I then went to Google Earth to compare the results. Now, after getting those coordinates from AI, which suggested Naples, Italy, I went ahead into Google Earth Studio and made these. As you can see, we have this loading dock industrial area. As it zooms out, you see more of the city, farmland, countryside, and just really a stunning environment. What a beautiful scenery. And this totally reminds me and looks like the concept art image. What do you guys think? I went ahead and also made this overlay where it fades to a part on Google Earth that I found. Looks pretty similar. And lastly, this area just shows a mixture of urban and rural. As you can see, there's large green patches, whether it's farmland, parks, or other types of areas. And then you have highway systems, cities, buildings, coastline. I mean, this totally could support a Battlefield style game and map environment, in my opinion. As well as this one here, you have this awesome fortress atop a hill, more green, and then these awesome streets and alleyways and cities. I'm sure there's tunnels in the area, and as well as cliffs and mountains. It's just very picturesque for a Battlefield style map. Alright guys, so the last thing I wanted to talk about was this region of fire in the concept art. Now, in the article, they could have chose to show and talk about anything they wanted to with this game. This is really the first details we're getting about it, and they chose to mention competition in Call of Duty. As well as this concept art, their team hand-selected this one for another reason. Now, for them to choose an image showing a Firestorm, to me, they're hinting at Battlefield's Battle Royale mode, which was Firestorm. Those of you guys know, although it was pretty fun, there were a lot of problems with it, and overall it failed. But to me, for them to mention that in the article and show this in the image, I connect the two, and I believe this Battlefield may have a Battle Royale mode. The article does mention that the fire may be a map feature, a weather system, or maybe an interactive event where a player starts it somehow. Maybe vehicles can start fires. That all very well may be true, but for some reason I believe it has more purpose, and I think we may see a Battlefield BR in this game, especially if they want to compete with Call of Duty. You need a BR in your game to do so. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.